Welcome to this week's live Police Academy prep from the Police Academy Blueprint. And this week we are talking about anxiety. Y'all better get in here and get ready because we are going to dive into anxiety, how it's stopping you before you ever get started. And so I want to start by saying this. Listen, I am your classic chronic anxiety sufferer. My time from when I actually decided to become a police officer until I actually did it was one of the most stressful times. I mean, I'll say that it was more stressful than having an internal affairs investigation, actually two at the same time. And so I recognize that through my surveys when I reach out to you and you reach out to me and I ask you like where you are in the process, what step you're trying to get to, and how you feel. I recognize in a lot of the responses there's a lack of confidence, and I know that confidence is being crushed by the anxiety that you feel. And so this is why we went from reading comprehension to math right into anxiety, as opposed to getting back into some more math or back into some more reading comprehension or, picture identification stuff. Because none of that matters if you can't take the first step. So I just wanted to put that out there first. Let us get into this week's Police Academy prep. And we're talking anxiety. Today's agenda, class. So glad that you're here. Thank you if you're here. Is number one, think like a detective. Don't just feel the anxiety. Investigate it. I wish I had more time because I know that anxiety a lot of times is rooted in some childhood experience that sets the precedent for almost the rest of your life. For me, it was my father leaving when I was 6 is really what made me fearful to take risk and to be courageous, because I didn't have someone to say, no, go ahead and do that, or someone to show up for me at that very moment. And that's really where it started for me. And for some people, I'm sure that's similar. Hugo Valdez, greetings from South Texas. Greetings from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Hugo. I'm glad you're here. The questions never end. I know they don't. And that's kind of the scary part, is that they don't end. But that's where it started for me. So, Hugo, do not get me off track because I am notoriously long-winded and easily distracted. Reading for detail. Look for facts, not feelings. Look for what you can do, not how you feel about it. And if you can't face the pressure, you can't grow into the role. Shrinking now guarantees regrets later. Now, let me ask you here in the comments. You give me a thumbs up if there is something in your life you wanted to do, you didn't do it because you were afraid, and now that you look back at it, you say, I wish I had done that. Give me a thumbs up in the comments if that's you. I learned a new way of looking at life. As opposed to where I am now and looking back to what I could have done when I was younger, I learned to think about yourself at 90 years old and then look back and think about the stuff that you could have done. Hello, Tank from Arizona. With all that time that you had, what you will find is that it was never as big as you were making it at that time, especially years later. That's where the regret comes from. Like, it wouldn't have taken me that much confidence to actually just get started. For me, I like to give you examples so that you can feel a connection. I should have probably got into law enforcement 9 years before I did, like right out of college, right? Fresh off a criminal justice degree, fresh off of athletic experiences with football and track and field, would have been like in some of the best shape of my life, and would have had almost a decade plus, I'd be closer to retiring than I am now. But at that very moment in time, when I came to that point, like, hey, I'm probably the perfect candidate for this. But what if they don't want me? What if I'm not good enough? You're not going to know that until you actually try. So I want to give you that as an example. So let's get into it. We have to start here. If you are a constant follower of the Hughes initiative, then you know that the Lord is the center of my life. The center of everything that I do. The Hughes initiative is my ministry. This is what the Lord has called me to do. I think I said it last week. I don't have to do this. My job pays me very well. I do this because I love people, and this is what the Lord has put on my heart. So this is what I think about constantly, 24/7. How can I be of service to the men and women who want to get into law enforcement and want to have a successful and a positive experience? It won't be without its challenges, but what can I give back? And so when I got back into reading my Bible on a very regular basis, every day, multiple times a day, the Lord sent me to Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. For we're all God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which the Lord has prepared in advance for us to do. There's two parts to it. The first part is this. You were created for greatness from the very beginning. The Lord created you for greatness from the very, very beginning. Like, think about being in a warehouse on a conveyor belt, and the Lord's making all of us, and he's giving all of us the skills that, or the motivation for the skills that we need to be great. Like, RC's going to be a police officer. Tank's going to be a police officer. They're going to be a great police officer. And how do we know this? Because it was already predestined. The Lord already put it in place for us before we ever got started. The enemy's job is to create fear and doubt from the starting point to that actual greatness that we're supposed to get to. Understand something, and I will get on my soapbox a little bit about the Lord because I love him so much. All the enemy has to do or wants to do is to keep you distracted long enough so that you no longer have the energy to go for what you're supposed to be doing that the Lord has called you to do. That's it, right? It's like a straight path from where you are to success. And all the enemy has to do is to get you to veer off, chasing, one of the big four negative coping mechanisms that we talk about inside the EAR model. Alcohol, illegal narcotics, promiscuous sexual encounters, adult content, gambling. Get you off the path from out of alignment for long enough. And when you come back, if you come back onto the path, then sometimes it's too late. Those opportunities have passed and those doors have closed. And then there's that feeling of regret, which is just a ball and chain to keep you from moving forward. That's the only goal of the enemy, to distract you. All of these things are distractions. When you should be doing something, you're scrolling. When you should be working out, you're saying tomorrow. Right? When you should be studying, you're saying this is too hard. That's it. You have to understand, you're going to be great if you just stay on course. It won't be without its challenges. We'll talk about it later. It's going to look ugly at the beginning, but you will be great. So let's keep going. I just wanted to give you that. Tank, police officer for 10 years, same. A decade's worth of experience from this thing, which I give back to you, which also keeps me very, very closely connected to those who are in law enforcement and those who want to become law enforcement. I vividly remember what it's like from considering being a police officer to actually going through the process and the academy and my first year, which is why I wrote the book, Dominate Your First Year as a Cop. I know what it's like, and I don't want you to have a negative experience. Bridges have my power test this Saturday. Bridges 601, what's a powers test? What's your power test? Is that your physical readiness test? Or was that a typo? Welcome to everyone who is joining. Well, which one was it? Is that your physical readiness test or is that a typo? Welcome to everyone who's joining, who's getting in here. We're talking about anxiety prior to becoming a police officer, prior to getting into the academy, or even actually going through the process. Here at the Hughes Initiative, we have this police academy prep going, and there's nothing like it in the world. How do I know that? Because there was nothing like it when I started a decade ago. I just talked to one of my supervisors last night who has 2 decades worth of law enforcement experience. There's nothing like it here. So this is why I created it. Physical readiness. Just do it. Like Bridges, just do it. If you've been preparing, and you know if you've been preparing or not, but even if you're not prepared fully, you still do it. Because there's a lesson to be learned. It's not, oh, I failed this. No, I know now what's required. Sometimes you don't. Yeah, I get ahead of myself sometimes. Y'all got to work with me here. I get ahead of myself sometimes. You're not always going to know what's required. And if you don't get it right the first time, that's okay. Because now you have the experience and you know what it is. You know what you have to do. Like, I'm going to give you inside the Police Academy Blueprint when it drops on November 28th. I'm going to give you what you need to do. But that's only like a guide, right? You got to put the work in. Let's keep going. I'm already, see, y'all get me distracted talking about these things, but I just love you so much. I don't want you to feel like you're not included or that I'm not listening to you. You have questions, I have answers, I have advice for you all. So again, for the 5th time, let's get started. Anxiety isn't weakness, it's a warning light. No, Bridges, you're good, you're good. Anxiety shows up when your desire is bigger than your confidence. When you are not confident about a certain thing, this is when the enemy attacks you the most. This is when it starts. That creeping in of that doubt. It makes capable people act like they're not ready. For example, prior to ever doing the ear model presentation in person, I had already practiced it like 100 times to the point where I could do it without the slides. The Lord gave me an opportunity to ask the police academy instructor if I could do it for their class. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, what you mean, yeah? Like, what do you mean, yes? I was not expecting the yes, I was expecting the no. And so immediately when he said yes, I was like, okay. Thank you for the opportunity. Turn around, went to the car, was like, Lord, I'm terrified because now I have an opportunity. And I didn't understand. I wrestled with myself, rather. It's not that I didn't understand, but I wrestled with myself back and forth about whether I was ready for this or not, whether I was capable or not, even though I had practiced the thing ad nauseum. Or like I could do it. Anxiety, it doesn't say that you can't. It says that you've never done it before. But because I had never done it before, I felt like I wasn't prepared or I wasn't capable. That's how many of you is that stopping you from actually getting into the process? Or is that causing great anxiety for you, stomach turning anxiety as you think about your first day at the academy or your first day on the job? Right? You've never done it before. That's okay. That is perfectly fine. That's a normal feeling. You've never done it. Doesn't mean that you're not capable, but if you've never done it, you've never done it. Right? For example, you feel confident in brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, and driving a car if you drive. Why? Why do you feel confident in those things? Because you've done them so many times now that there is no fear. Me, for example, I had to teach myself how to swim when I was 28. As someone who's feared water for 28 years, it was ugly when I first started. Just absolutely ugly. I mean, like 1 stroke, 2 stroke, 3 stroke, I'm standing up. I'm losing my breath. I'm breathing out of control. And we're talking about 3 feet of water. Like I hadn't even made it to the end of the pool where it was 5 or 6 feet. It was ugly. I'd never done it before. Anxiety doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means something matters to you. As I was creating the Police Academy Blueprint, I reached out to various polygraph instructors because I know that that's a huge thing for a lot of people. The polygraph, if you have to take one. And what he told me was this, and I put this inside the Police Academy Blueprint in greater detail. More than half of the people screw up the test because it matters so much that they just panic. Right? The weight of this very moment of taking this polygraph matters so much to them that they just panic. Because the polygraph is not a lie detector test. That's not what it does. It measures changes in the body as responses to questions that are being asked. And what ends up happening is people show up, they show on the instrument as being deceitful, even though they're not. Because you don't want to screw this up. I get it. Especially, so like we create our own anxiety at times and our own pressure. We tell people, hey, I'm going to become a police officer, or I'm midway through, I'm at the background stage, or I got my polygraph. And then you tell people that you actually have to go back and talk to and tell them the result. Ego is what leads to that sense of embarrassment if we don't pass. Right? It's that, because understanding the ego, which I teach, is that an ego is a shield that protects us from future pain because of the past pain that we've experienced. And we never want to feel that again. This is why we don't open up to people fully. This is why we keep things to ourselves. Because if you keep it to yourself, then nobody has to know that you failed. There's no accountability there, right? You don't have to be accountable to anybody. Just a little tip as we go through this. You're going to get plenty of this from me, because this is something I told my sister, this is something that I'm super excited about doing because I love talking about this kind of stuff. So, a mind that can't see the ending. Your brain is built for certainty, not faith. We'll start there. We talked about it just a few seconds ago. The starting point, the ending point. Anxiety lives in the middle. The enemy distracts us in the middle, right? When it can't predict the outcome, it fills the gap with fear. When you think about, and that's part of the problem, we overthink. When you think about everything that is possible, it becomes a bit of a analysis paralysis type of deal, where there's so many different tangents that you could go off of, so many different potential outcomes that could happen. It's just like, you know what? If I didn't do this, I wouldn't have to worry about it. Right? If I didn't do this, I wouldn't have to worry about whether or not I succeeded or not. But the unknown is the birthplace of every breakthrough and also every panic attack. Anybody in here suffer from panic attacks? I know I was having a panic attack almost every day as I was waiting for the next step of the process. They say, oh, we'll get back to you in 2-3 weeks. For 14 days, I was a nervous wreck. And I understand if you are as well. And I understand if you haven't started the process yet. It's okay. It's okay. We can't live there. Tank more and more as I get older. Anxiety is just your imagination working against you instead of working for you. When I arrested a young, let me back up. I didn't arrest him. I took him to have himself evaluated for a mental health evaluation. And as we were talking, I asked him a question that I ask a lot of people. When you lay down at night, before you actually fall asleep, what thoughts do you put on your continuous track of thoughts that just rotates in our head throughout the day? What thoughts do you put on there? And he told me he thought of, intercourse and motorcycles. And I said, do you see how that can be a problem? Because you are married with 2 kids and a wife, and you are like the primary source of income. So in an effort to deal with his stress, when he lays down at night, he thinks about a different life. That is hold on, y'all. Hold on. Nigeria got some good news for us. Go ahead and tell us, Nigeria. Go ahead and tell us. because my boy Nigeria passed the background investigation. All glory be to God. All glory be to God. As you continue to move forward, next is the interview. Yep. Next is the interview. Next is the interview. All glory be to God. We pray for these things. I pray for your success. Here at the Hughes Initiative, we are focused on education. And here is where you'll find your biggest cheerleader. That's me. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I want to see everybody be successful when it comes to this thing. Everybody. And that's what drives me. That's what motivates me. Your success and giving you the education. Medical and psychological exam is next year as well. Absolutely. That's what we do. That's what we do here. Now, I do remember where I was. I almost forgot. Nigeria had some great news, so we had to show them some love. Everybody who's on this live, who comes to this live every week, every Thursday, you got good news about the process or a breakthrough that you made, it gets cheerleaded here. It gets pushed to the forefront because this is the community where you will find that love, especially when it comes to law enforcement. You have to leave work at work and surround yourself with positive friends in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Yes, you do. You have to leave work at work. We talk about that inside the ear model. Ace Max 1320. I start the academy Monday 14th. I'm so nervous. Any tips? Yep. Just go. Just go. You've done everything. And Ace Max, you're the kind of person that I like to work with because you've taken the steps. You've done everything. Now here you are. All you have to do is walk forward. Right? Go back to the first point. Your brain is built for certainty, not faith. Oh, okay, Ace Max, because we need more women in law enforcement. Yes, we do. Irregardless of what some other people may say, there is a place for women in law enforcement. It's in patrol. It's in leadership. It's in everywhere. I failed my psych for a different department, so I'm worried about that portion. Just take it again. We talk about that inside the Police Academy Blueprint. Don't worry. We cover that because I know that's a part. That's the part I was worried about. Will they discover that I'm absolutely insane and not hire me? Right? Will they discover that I'm absolutely insane? But there is a method to those tests that you take. So don't worry about it. Again, Ace, you weren't, not Ace, I don't know if you were here earlier, but what we were talking about was the first time it may not work out. That's just experience that you need. Like it's gonna be ugly. You just need that. Now I've forgotten where I was at. Oh no, I remember now. I asked the young man what he dreamed about, and he told me, intercourse and motorcycles, and that was an issue because that's not the life he was living. Understand the way that our brains work. They are designed to seek comfort. So when you're stressed, go into one of the big four negative coping mechanisms, go into a different place where life is easy or better or you're happier. That is that's what our brain does. The hang up with that is when you try to bring that world from inside your brain that you've created outside into the real world, and they're misaligned. Your thinking up here has to match where you are right now in life and where you want to get to. This is why I'm doing the Police Academy prep, because the time before you get to the academy, meaning from the actual time that you start the process until you get to the academy, this is the hardest part. It is not the police academy. The police academy is a repetitive, almost everyday kind of thing where you exercise and you learn something new and you overcome a few challenges. It is the decision making that is done before you get there that is the most challenging part for people. And you have to have the right mindset and be thinking the right way as you are preparing for the academy. And there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made. Hey, we're going out tonight. We're just going to have 2 drinks. Nope. Hey, do you want to come with me to this party? Nope. You want to smoke? You want to? Nope. Because what you're doing is you're actually building the reps for a life as a police officer. One of the greatest issues, one of the greatest hangups I have with people in law enforcement is that they don't respect the occupation enough. And when I say that, I mean they don't make the decisions that they should make. You absolutely cannot live life like everybody else. And that has to be okay with you. Right? But that's what that level of success requires. It requires that you live differently. It requires that you address the issues that you have and resolve them, which are common issues, right? Police officers, we're just average, everyday people as well. But there has to be a mindset shift when you get into law enforcement. You don't have the same luxuries as everyone else. Jim, the painter who gets arrested for DUI, that may or may not go into the newspaper. But RC, the police officer, gets arrested for DUI or domestic violence or something of that nature. That makes the news, that stays in the news cycle for at least a week. That triggers all these things within my department as a response to it. Because I didn't put enough value on the occupation. So, as you're preparing for, also start a supplemental income and investment early in your career to supplement your retirement. Who? Me? Or are you giving that advice? Because we passed that point, Tank. We passed that point. But you have to give respect to the occupation. You have to give respect to it. It carries a lot of weight. In a sense, it is welcome to the glass house, where like everybody can see what you do for, especially if you work in a small town. But if you resolve those issues inside yourself, it's not a problem. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't use adult content, I don't gamble. So I'm not concerned about those things. But I worry about my brothers and sisters who are in law enforcement and the fine men and women who are trying to get into law enforcement who still struggle with these things. These are the things that get police officers, my mother would say, jammed up on a weekly basis. It's not the job. It's not the public. It's not knowing other people's rights and not. That's not it. It's police officers getting arrested for DUI or something alcohol related, drug addictions like we just saw an officer down in New Orleans. He was using narcotics on his body camera. It's relationship issues. It's inappropriate relationships with victims and members of society, and it's gambling debts, taking money. These are the things that get police officers jammed up on a weekly basis. These are also the things that happen to normal everyday people, but they're not at that level of celebrity as police officers are. So how you think up here has to be in alignment with how you're living on a day-to-day basis. It's okay to say no. In fact, once you learn to say no more often, then you will feel a lot better about the boundary setting that you have to do with people. Because not everybody can come along for the ride. And one of the hardest things, unfortunately, that you have to do as a police officer is you have to trim the tree. Sometimes even you have to trim the branches, and sometimes those branches come from the family tree. Not everybody has everything to risk like you do. Never forget that. Let us move on. How anxiety appears in a police cadet. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if I embarrass myself? What if people find out I'm not as confident as I pretend to be? The land of what ifs, right? The land of what ifs. What if I fail? What if you fail? What's the plan? That's a question I ask people that I mentor. What's the plan? Right? Like, I can give you all the pros of law enforcement, but what if you don't make it that far? What are you? And so let me ask you this. Are you done with law enforcement if you don't succeed the first time? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Because if you really want it, then that first time again, you just take it as a learning experience. Okay, here's where I can be better in my interview. Here's where I could be better physically. Here's where I could be better in my background. If you that's what you have to ask yourself. What's the plan? Like, if you're not fully committed to this as a thing, and you're willing to shake off people saying, "Oh, I knew you wouldn't make it," or the feeling that people are like, "You're a failure," which is irrelevant anyway. If you're not prepared to deal with that kind of stuff and to shake it off and to move forward, then this ain't for you. I know way too many police officers who've had to go through the process 2 and 3 times. Tank, it took me 14 years of trying, and now I'm here with 10 years on. Keep trying, never give up. Exactly. If you want it, truly, now, let me stop you for a second. If you want it, if it's something that you truly desire, then there is no failure. There can only be growth. I wanted to start the Hughes initiative. It didn't start off the way that I thought it would. But this is what I want. And understand something about like me going live now. I've probably done, 25 to 30 lives on different platforms with 0 viewers. None. Nobody there. And when I first started, I was like, man, ain't nobody trying to listen to me. Ain't nobody even here. And I put a video out and I did a post and all this other stuff. But you know what I did? I did the freaking live. I went live by myself. I ran through the course, whether it was traffic stops, DUI, and binge drinking, whether it was surviving the stop, whether it was the ear model for another one of my programs, Citizens Police Education Program. I just did it. Now, so what you see now is not even the finished product. It's just a more refined product from where I first started, which was ugly, until where we are here. But this is where we are now. It's better than what it was, but this is my desire. So I'm always keep going. What if I embarrass myself? There's no embarrassment. There's no embarrassment. There's 0 embarrassment when it comes to trying to be a police officer. You only fail when you give up. That's the only time you fail. It's something I told my wife when she was in nursing school. Classes got hard. I said, this is the next level. This is the next level of what it is. This is what's required. It's going to be more challenging. The higher up you try to go in life, there's going to be challenges, right? Like, it's called climbing a mountain. It's not called walking down the stairs. It doesn't get easier the higher, it gets easier the lower you go, but the higher you go, it requires more energy and more effort. So there is no embarrassment. Embarrassment's not even a real thing. That's just a perception that someone else is looking at you in a negative light, and we don't do that here. What other people think is of no consequence to us, because honestly, whether you do it or whether you don't do it, people are going to judge you anyway. I mean, look how they did our Lord and Savior. And he was all about good. But they judged him anyway, but there was no embarrassment. Should I go through technicalities for the background? Like, even if I don't know about it at the time, now I can see how that was technically illegal, or technically I did something wrong. When it comes to the background investigation, what you want to do is you want to be transparent. What you don't want to happen is for them to find something that you didn't tell them. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. I know background investigators. I talked to them as I was creating the program. They don't care. They don't care. It's about how transparent, how honest can you be, because we're about to give you this massive authority to restrict American citizens' freedom and also to take their lives. So we want an honest person. Like, the enemy would love for you to hide everything bad that you've ever done. Not necessarily bad, the negative experiences that you've had with life. The enemy would want you to hide that because there's that guilt attached to it. And that's what destroys self-confidence. So I did a voice test for my first department. I passed. Now I find out things that happen. Just say it. Right? One of the things I tell people when I deal with them as a peer support member for my department, one of the things I tell them when they have to tell someone that they've done something negative that's going to affect another person, you have to say that thing until it doesn't sting anymore. my test that I've been through in life as a police officer. When I first started, years 1 through 3, Jesus walked with me, but allowed me to experience these things in a negative way so that I could learn from them. Struggled with alcohol from the very beginning and had never been a drinker, but it was socially acceptable in the circle, in law enforcement. Struggled with alcohol. I'm talking, I was a fifth of Crown Royal, pack of cigarettes, 6 Bud Light Platinums at a rip kind of guy. That was nothing. That was nothing for me. Struggled with adult content for the better part of, oh boy, we getting 20, 25, probably 27 years. Struggled with it. Changed the way I thought. This is how I end up having our 2 youngest kids. They ain't even a year apart. They're 15 months apart. They're 10 months apart. Because I was living in this fantasy that I created in myself, but that wasn't in alignment with what was going on in the real world. This is my test. It's my testimony. I'm able to say these things to you because they no longer sting because I've overcome them. And this is what I want for everybody. There's a level of confidence that comes from being honest about the things that you've had to overcome or the challenges that you're currently dealing with in life. And the background investigation is a part of that really is one of those places where, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for accountability and ownership. Yep. When I was 19, I got my driver's license suspended because I was driving without insurance. Yep. 3 years in Ohio, I had an SR, whatever that is, a license suspension. Yes. I didn't even know I got cited when I was in college for public intoxication. I went to a party, drank a lot, ended up passing out on the steps to my apartment, ended up going to the hospital. Yep, that came up. I didn't even know. I had to own it. Right? You remove the ability of the enemy to conflict you or to make you feel guilty when you own it. I did that. That's me. That happened. I'm solely responsible for that outcome and that experience because I put myself there. That's what background investigators are looking for. And also, what have you done since then? Oh, not me, but I'm just saying, for example, I got a DUI when I was 22. I'm 26 now. I had to go through the classes, pay the money, the lawyer, all of these things. I had to sip alcohol in 4 years. Is that fair? Yeah, that's fair. Right? Again, like I said, as we go down to the last point, when one in red, most people don't fail the process. They fail the waiting period before they ever started. We fail before we ever start. We trip ourselves up seeking comfort because we're anxious, because we're nervous, because we don't know what's going to happen next. So we run to comfort. That was my struggle with adult content. I ran to comfort because my issue was loneliness. I got a house full of people here that live with me. My wife, 3 daughters, I got 1 in college and my son. The time that I would struggle the most is when everybody was gone. Wife's at work or school, kids are in school, just me here by myself. I struggle with loneliness. Calm, I've passed all the steps needed for this one position in my local SO, and they decided not to move forward at the final executive decision. Why would that be? You got to ask. You got to ask. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not a fortune teller. You got to ask. And what they give you is what they give you. And then you just move on. Right? I understand this as well. And I learned this from having the Hughes initiative. It was no. The answer was no before I even asked. So if it's no afterwards, nothing has changed. I don't let my ego be affected because I got denied something. It was no before I asked. You're always playing with house money when it comes to, doing something new. Always. Because when you win, when they say yes, then you win everything. And you've lost nothing. So remember that. Let's move on. Confidence is not a personality trait, it's a track record. It's like when I talked about tying shoes. You don't get confidence because you're born with it, because nobody's born with it. But it is the repetitions that make you better. You got to get the reps in. You don't feel confident first, you earn it through repetition. That's what I just said. Actions create evidence, and evidence destroys doubt. When you have something to draw on as a point of reference, then that is what guides you through. My point of reference always starts here. Always. Always. Your point of reference, if you are graduated from the academy, it starts here. Dominate your first year as a cop. This is your foundation. This is what you need. And so you have to have that evidence that you can do it because you've done it. When it comes to running a mile and a half, you got to run a mile and a half. You got to run 2 miles so that when the time comes for you to run it for your physical readiness test, I've run this mile and a half. I've been running this mile and a half, 2 miles, 3 miles for 6 months. Or, because this is also as well, I've run the mile and a half once. I finally got to the mile and a half. I can do it again. Just the belief that you can do it is enough to get you through a lot of situations. And that comes from, again, the reps and doing things that you need to do. The people you look up to weren't confident. They were just willing to start messy. The longer you stay around me, you will find that one of the maxims that I absolutely believe is that everything is ugly at the beginning. It doesn't matter what it is. When you start something new, it's going to be ugly. That's okay. That's a part of it. It's perfectly fine that it is ugly. It's supposed to be. Right? Because this is where we find out whether or not this is what you really want. Because it doesn't look like somebody who's been doing it for, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Right? That's a refined process. It's smooth. I didn't really pick up how to, be confident and comfortable on crash investigations probably till year 6. I'm just being honest, probably till year 6. When I finally was when I got to the scene and the scene wasn't overwhelming to me with the people that were there and the crashed cars and debris and fire and EMS and other traffic going by. I used to be like, I don't, where to start. Now when I go out there, okay, I got a system. I'm confident. Y'all do this. You stay here. You stay here. Get me a toe. Get me 2 toes. Whatever. Let me do my investigation. Let me put this thing back together. It takes time. But that's okay. It's supposed to. Confidence is built like a muscle, and hesitation is the gym membership you never use. I'm laying game down for y'all. Right? Write this stuff down because I'm giving it to you. Confidence is built like a muscle, and hesitation is the gym membership you never use. I'll do it tomorrow. You could do it right now, but you put it off because it's easier to go back to the thing that you're comfortable doing, and sometimes that's nothing as opposed to taking the steps. So what we want is for you all to feel confident, overcome the anxiety, which we create ourselves because of inactivity. And I still struggle with it today, right? I don't want you to feel like I'm soapboxing you here. There are times I could be doing something for the Hughes Initiative where in that very moment, it's a yes or no decision, and I decide to scroll on this platform or another platform. And then after 25, 30 minutes, I no longer feel like doing it. And then 3 hours later, I feel a sense of regret because I had the time and I didn't take advantage of it in that very moment. That's a real thing. You could be doing the application for a department, but you say, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow you find something else to do when that time comes. And then the next day you find something else to do when that time comes. And this is what we continue to do over and over again. But as we're delaying the thing that we need to do, we're allowing the enemy to bring in that anxiety because we know we need to do it, but we can't find it in ourselves to do it. And so we're going to fail because we never did anything. We're going to fail because we talk about it later, we shrank. And that's not what we want. But even in working with people, I want to work, and I only work with people who are taking the steps. If you're like, I'm not sure, I'll be here when you're ready, but right now you're not ready. There's no reason for you not to be ready. There's something I teach my children. There's a million reasons, there's a million excuses why you can't do something. You only need one to start. There's a million reasons why you maybe struggle with reading or with math. I never had an opportunity. I don't have a strong foundation. So what? Because 10 years from now, you were still using that excuse. You never got to where you wanted to when you could have taken a step that would have led you to another step, that would have led you to a jog, that would have led you to a faster jog, that would have led you to a run and a full-out sprint toward the thing that you wanted the most. How to overcome anxiety. And here in the Police Academy Blueprint, Police Academy Prep, the anti-anxiety blueprint. Take a small step. That's what I just said. Take a small step. You will find that when you start to move in the direction that the Lord has called you to move into, and that's different for everybody, whatever it is that you dream about, whatever it is that you think about, that you want to be in life, when you start to move into that direction, the Lord will guide you in that direction. And things will start to happen. Doors will start to open. And so this is where people use motivation. I don't use motivation. That's not what I do. I use the work and the desire to be successful as the driving force. I said, this is what I want. So this is what I'm going to do. So this is what my actions are going. This is where my actions are going to be dedicated. The energy is going to be dedicated to this thing that I want. So you take a step. You don't need a breakthrough. You need a first move. A repetition builds confidence. We've talked about that ad nauseum almost in this entire thing. Winners don't feel ready. They get ready by doing. One ugly rep equals progress more than 1,000 perfect plans. It's never going to be, like, you could always make an excuse for why you're not ready. Which I just said, you can always make an excuse, right? It's never going to be the right time. There's never going to be a perfect time for you to apply to become a police officer. There's never going to be a perfect time for you to start studying. You just have to make that time that you're in right now the time. If you're waiting for everything to line up, for you to get your money right, for your credit to get better, for you to get in better shape, you'll be waiting forever. That's how we trick ourselves. 2 months from now, it'll be the perfect time. 2 months from now, you could lose a family member. 2 months from now, you could pull your hamstring. 2 months from now, you can get fired. Start now. The biggest point, and this is the maxim that I live by currently right now, this is what drives me: don't shrink in the face of confrontation. Any advice for single parents wanting to go to the academy? Let me get to that. Any advice for single parents wanting to go to the academy? You have to create a plan. You have to have a plan. You have to have a system in place. You're going to need support. And so that comes with a level of sacrifice. The things that you like to do versus what's most important. So if you need help from a family member, or you got to pay somebody to babysit for 2 hours, or take your kids to school and pick them up, that's what has to be done. Right? There's nothing that truly can stop you if you really want it. And that's just me being completely honest. There's nothing that can truly stop you if you really want it. You can make up reasons to stop yourself. Right? In that very moment, by maxim, don't shrink in the face of confrontation. Confrontation is not always a conversation. I know that's where a lot of people like to think about confrontation. It's not always a conversation. Confrontation is the thing that you say no to that you want to say yes to. When I go into high schools and colleges, we talk about shrinking in the face of confrontation when it comes to consuming alcohol. You don't drink as a high school or college kid, but you go to a party with your friends and they offer you something and you say yes when you know you should say no. You just shrank in the face of confrontation. You know you have to run in order to pass the mile and a half. But instead of going to the track, you decide to do something else. You just shrank in the face of confrontation. This is where I live currently with myself. Not shrinking in the face of confrontation, whatever it may be. So this morning, for example, I worked till, I think I worked till 1 o'clock this morning. Came home, got a shower, laid down. Woke up at 7:30. Got the kids up, took them to school, went to court. Knew I had this coming up, but I also knew I wanted to get some exercise in before I got started. I walk in the door after court. I stand in my living room. I could have said, no, I'll just, grab another shower, sit down, prep, and get ready for you all. No. I went upstairs, changed my clothes, and exercised. I did not shrink in the face of confrontation because being in shape is something that I want to do. And this is my confrontation on a very regular basis. Trust me, it is. I love exercise. I don't always love exercising. But that's my confrontation. Reaching out to different places and saying, hey, I got the ear model, or I got the book, or Citizens Police Education Program. Like cold calling. I got a paper on my wall that says, shut up and cold call. I've shied away from that. I'll be honest with you. I've shrank in the face of confrontation when it came to that. Not because I got told no, because it was the time that I had to dedicate to it. I want to give it 3-4 hours at a time. But I've shrank in the face of confrontation. If you listen, I just made an excuse. I just made an excuse why I didn't do it. There's no reason for me not to. I have all the time in the world to make that happen. But I shrank in the face of confrontation. Diamonds and excuses, are both made under pressure. You choose which one you become. In the face of pressure, in the face of confrontation, will you stand up or will you lay down? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Will you stand up or will you lay down? A lot of times we lay down because we don't know what's on the other side of standing up. When you stand up to something, it's like, and I'm not watching it because I don't watch this kind of stuff, but like the movie It, Pennywise. Pennywise is only powerful if you believe that he is powerful. The enemy is only powerful if you believe that he has some control over your life. It's the same thing. It is exactly the same thing. If you lay down and give up, then you have, in essence, defeated yourself. Because all you needed to do was stand up. We don't stand up enough for ourselves, and this is where self-doubt and depression and stuff like that comes from. Because you're not standing up for yourself. You're not saying the things that need to be said. You're not accepting the challenges that come before you. I told you before, the word no is powerful. It's very powerful. When you start to tell people no and say no to things that don't align with what you want to do, there's a sense of relief. There's also a sense of confidence. I no longer have to live my life trying to please others. Prestigious Lux, my polygraph exam was horrible. We talked about that earlier. That's okay. So what? You do it again. You just do it again. We don't do pity parties around here. All we do is growth. All we do is growing. Not everybody's going to move at the same speed, have the same success. Don't matter. We all get there. Some people, and I'm not dragging people kicking and screaming into law enforcement. I'm not going to do that for you. I'm not going to try to convince you because I won't be at the academy with you. Oh, they say my live will end. Oh, drag the puzzle piece. What's going on here, guys? They say my live was going to end in 4 minutes or so. They say so. I don't drag people kicking and screaming into law enforcement. I'm not going to be at the academy with you. You have to be self-driven in that way because it's for you. I'm going to cheerlead you. I'm going to be happy for you. But the day in and day out of the academy, that is for you to do. I did it already. Again, a moment of transparency. On those morning runs, and I'm not the fastest runner, and I'll never claim to be. I enjoy running a lot. I was in the back, and all I was doing was, Lord, if you get me through this run, please, God, get me through this run. I'll probably be begging you to get me through the next one. But I need you to get me through this one right here. That was me, by myself, having that conversation with the Lord. That may be some of you at the academy. I'm going to give you the mindset that you go in with, but you have to put the plan in place. Again, I'm the tarmac, you're the airplane. You got directions on left, right, kind of that kind of stuff. But the takeoff and the flight, you're the captain. And I believe in you. I know you can fly this plane right to success. Your anxiety can't survive action. First thing you need to do is download the PDF, the Police Academy 20-Day Prep Guide, and the Pre-Academy Checklist. This is how we get connected. If you don't send me a message here, because there's a survey attached to when you download the PDF, so I know where you are. I like to keep my content, especially these lives, relevant to what you all have as concerns. It would be easy for me to just run through the things that I thought was important, but I like to be current. So you download the Police Academy Prep List, and it's going to have the information that you need to get you started. And then you pick one task and do it today. I like to write. I write everything down. I really do. I write everything down. That action of writing it down is something that helps like solidify it for me. So you find you make a list. What do you need to do? What do you need to prepare for? What do you need to study? You let me know, and we'll make it, the next live. What do you need? You write that stuff down. Today, I'm going to do 1 push-up, 1 sit-up, jog for 3 blocks, walk for 7. You do something. Because what you'll find is that, again, when you start to do things and move towards that thing that you want that's in alignment with what the Lord wants for us, because that's the biggest key, you will find that you will encourage yourself. Today was 1 push-up. Tomorrow's 1 push-up. But come Monday, now we're doing 5 push-ups. Like that's how going to the gym works. You don't start off as the strongest. You build it. You pick one task. Again, you stop trying to feel ready and you start trying to build proof. I can do this. You can do this. And if nobody else ever tells you, I'm telling you, you can do this. This is what I tell my children. I didn't have that as a child growing up. I make sure I tell my children, you can do this. And I look at you all who are trying to go through the process or in the process. They're like my little brothers and sisters. I'm going to fill you with the encouragement and the support so that you can do it. And then when you get done, I'll, like a big brother, I'll tell you, I told you so. I told you could do this. And then ultimately you show up every Thursday. You show up on Thursdays and grow in public. Right? Like Nigeria telling us about him moving on. That's what I want these comments filled with. We moving forward. Yep, you get praised here, you get acknowledged here. This is where you'll find it. You don't need courage for the whole journey, just enough to move 1 step past where you normally stop. And you have to figure out where you normally stop. And that's probably in multiple areas of life. 1 step past where you normally stop. 1 step past me from where I normally stop was just putting out videos. That's what it was for me, just putting out videos. That's what I feel comfortable doing. That's what I'm going to do. Editing them, audio, all that good stuff. One step past that is the lives. I was terrified of going live. Terrified. This is what kept me from doing it. I shrank in the face of that confrontation. So what is it for you? What's your one step past what you're most comfortable doing, where you would normally stop? All right? And my final thought before we get out of here. Anxiety dies in motion. Confidence grows in repetition. Your future is waiting on proof, not permission. You don't need anybody's permission to get into law enforcement. 0 people. Don't look for it. Do not look for anybody's permission to say, yeah, like, oh, it's cool to be a police officer. No, that's got nothing to do with it, because it's your life. In 15 years, when you could have had 13 or 14 years worth of law enforcement experience and the pay and all of those things, still waiting on somebody else to tell you that it's okay to do? Because guess what? Those people who tell you that it is or is not are going to do their thing, irregardless of what you say. And I know you've all seen it before. An adult is going to do what they want to do, irregardless of how it makes anybody feel. That is the hallmark of someone who is or believes themselves to be an adult. Forget what everybody else is thinking or saying. This is what I'm going to do. This is how great people have come to be great. Dr. Booker T. Washington. You think people didn't tell him not to do what he... You can't do that. He wasn't waiting on them. I wasn't waiting on people to tell me I could get into law enforcement. I was encouraged by people, but I wasn't waiting on somebody to say, yeah, now's the perfect time. Because 10 years ago, it wasn't really a great time. Like, I was mid-divorce 10 years ago when I got into law enforcement. That's one of the worst times. The only one who has their best interest for you is you. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. The bills come in your name. The decisions have to be made by you. You have to make the decisions for yourself, without the advice of other people. And I know there's some people here who probably have no one around anyway, so you're making all the decisions by yourself. So don't create this idea that there are people in the wings waiting to judge you because of the decision that you made. You had to make the decision anyway, right? The Police Academy Blueprint. Black Friday. Y'all gonna find me here. You ain't gonna find me on Thursday because I'll be with my family. But Black Friday, we're dropping it on Black Friday. Again, there's nothing like it. There was nothing like it when I started. I talked to one of my supervisors last night. There was nothing like it when he started 20 years ago. You have to go to so many different places to find everything that I've put inside of it. From the mindset to the written exam, to the oral exam, to the background investigation, to the polygraph test, to the med psych. Physical readiness. I even put something a little special in there I'll tell you about. I put a budget in there that is self-generating. It's literally 12 months of a budget tracker. All you have to do is put the bills in, the totals will add up, you put your paycheck in, it'll show you how much money you have left. Because I love you. And because it's something that I wish I had when I first started. Just to keep myself on track. Just to keep myself on task. So, November 28th, you're going to join me here on Black Friday. And we're going to drop it. We're going to release it. I'll let you know. And so, also, here's this. I'll tell you a secret. This is my response to anxiety. The doing something. The first thing I ever did was write the book, Dominate Your First Year as a Cop. I was like, I'm losing sleep over the fact that I never want another police officer to have the experience that I had, the negative side of it. I never want another police officer to go into law enforcement not feeling confident walking into their station or their barracks the first day. So this was my response. And then it was like, well, I also don't want them, now that I've learned, I don't want them to get caught up in their ego with arrogance or to respond with rage. I also want them to be exposed and not become toxic leadership. I also want to give them a guide that they can focus on in that first year. They pick something every day to get better at. So I created the EAR model. And then it was a time where it was like, well, I'm hearing a lot about police officers not knowing the 4th and 5th Amendment, search and seizure, what to do on traffic stops. But I'm also hearing that American citizens don't know this information either, and they're getting misinformation. So I create the Citizens Police Education Program as a refresher for police officers when they leave the academy, and also as a point of reference for American citizens who are looking for concrete, solid, true information about their rights and how to exercise them safely in one place. And then it was like, why haven't I focused on the people who actually wanted to get into law enforcement but don't know where to go? So that's why you get the free download PDF and you get the Police Academy Blueprint. This is my response to anxiety as a person. This is how I deal with it. I create in an effort to help you all. So, every Thursday, noon, set a reminder in your calendar now. Every Thursday, Police Academy Prep. Next week, we're going back to math, and we're going to break down ratios and how to, so that we have a formula and we have a game plan for ratios, irregardless of what the question looks like. Oh, we identified as a ratio. Here's what we're supposed to do. That's where we go next week. Ratios, back into math. After that, we'll look at the survey, see what else people are asking for. We may go there. We may go reading comprehension. We may go pictures, but we will get everything covered. I want you to walk into this process confident. Confident because you've done the work and prepared for the challenges that come with the work. You have a point of reference to draw on. That's what we do here. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much again for joining us here, the Hughes Initiative's Police Academy Prep. Be looking out for the Police Academy Blueprint on November 28th. I want to thank you all for joining. I will see you next week. Obviously, there'll be more videos coming out because that's what I'm comfortable doing. I like doing that. And so I'll see you next week. Be blessed. Have a great rest of the week. And if there is a day that you want to see me again, I try to fit it into the schedule, but with court and everything like that, it can be a little challenging. But I make time for you. I also have to rest. I told you I got a huge family. But I will make time for you all because you are my community and I love you all and I'm your biggest cheerleader and I want to see you all become successful. So, again, be safe. Have a great weekend. Don't forget Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. You were created for greatness and it was already prepared for you to be great. So just walk in it. I'll see you next time. Thank you. God bless me and my family.